Employment March of Western North Carolina. As we get started, I just want to go over. Go over some quick details with everybody. There are bathrooms located on the other side of this wall. There is water in the back. If anybody needs water, please stay hydrated. It's hot out here. There is a sign-in sheet on this table back here. We're asking you to please sign in. If you're interested in getting on our email list, write email down, but that's not required. We'd like to have an idea of how many people were here today. There's also a banner in the back with fabric markers, and we're asking you all to write down why you marched today so that we can show people the passion and what we're all here for. So update on our schedule, we've got speakers here for about an hour and some music. Then we're going to begin the march around 3. It is a 1.5 mile route. We're going to stop at the gazebo in town. So we're going to walk up Town Hill, down Maple Street, back up Palmer, and then back up to the town gazebo. If you do not want to walk the whole thing, that's perfectly fine. You can just head to the gazebo and stop there. We're going to have tables with information and people hanging out with signs. So just do what you're able to and want to today. And we'll get more information on the march as we end up the rally. So, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Susanna Cuppers. This is my sister, Lauren Hickman. And we are the co-founders of Forward Franklin. Forward Franklin is a progressive grassroots organization here in Macon County that we formed in November of last year. At our first meeting, we had about 15 people, and now we have on average about 60 people at each monthly meeting. We have 7 active committees within the group. And our environmental committee, which we want to give a special thanks to today, because we're really hard on this event. Angela. So yes, thank you to everyone from Forward Franklin who's here. We'll have more information about Forward Franklin up at the gazebo, or find anybody with a volunteer who can tell you more about it. We also want to do another round of quick thank yous to everybody who's helped support this. I want to thank you to our speakers, which we'll introduce as we go along. A big thank you to Adam Kinsey and Natasha Sebring of the Rathskeller for supplying the PA system. We want to thank the organizations helping us table up at the gazebo, the Wilderness Society, Canary Coalition, Audubon Society, and Paul Chu. And we also want to give a thank you to the Franklin Police Department, who will have a presence as we march through town and helping to maintain safety.
So I just want to get an idea of everyone that's here today. Is there anyone who drove from out of town? Just shout out where you're from. We are not the only ones marching today. Today we march in solidarity with over 375 marches across the country and the world. And we are marching to stand up for jobs, justice, climate in our communities. Thank you for being part of that. Solving the climate change is going to take all of us. This is not a march, it is not only a march, it's a movement, and we're not alone in this movement. We can't do it alone, and I'm not here today for myself. Community organizing is not something I had ever done prior to November 2016, but I did not feel like I had a choice. I don't think any of us have a choice now, so here I am. There are many issues that I'm passionate about, and we may not agree on all of them, but the earth is our common ground. It is our home, and our children's home, and our grandchildren's homes. I march because my children do not deserve to inherit a sick planet because I was unwilling to fight for their future. They deserve better. Our communities deserve better. We can do better. So my question to all of you today is, why do you march?
So our first speaker today is our Mayor, Bob Stott.
Thank you so much, and particularly for those of you that drove from out of town. We're just so glad to have you in Franklin. It's, I want you to see what the greatest town in western North Carolina is like. So welcome. I do want to say just a couple of things.
You need to talk into the microphone.
Is this any better?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually most politicians have a mic embedded somewhere around. I haven't reached that level yet. But I just want to talk about a couple of things real quick, like my generation survived McCarthyism. Some of you may not even know what that was. We survived the Civil Rights Movement, and we survived Vietnam. We protested all of those things. So now, your generation, you young people, you're facing a double-barreled threat. You're facing a threat to your freedoms guaranteed under the First Amendment, and you're also facing a threat to the environment. So I guess what I want to say is keep marching, keep protesting, and as Jack Kennedy once said, in passing the torch, I'm going to say, pass the LED in your smartphone.
People, hi. I now introduce to you a ghostly specter, a haint, an apparition come to our rally and to Western North Carolina People's Climate March. I'm scared. I'm really frightened here. As his spirit roams the most beautiful hills and vales, as a reminder to all.
Good afternoon. Hi.
Gotta move the mic to the
My
next
God,
person.
my God.
No, it needs to be closer.
We grow big in Sweden. I am Dr. Svante Arrhenius. Now, at least I was Dr. Svante Arrhenius. I died in 1927. And if you're not a chemist, you probably don't know who I am or who I was. I'm a Swedish chemist, or was a Swedish chemist, and won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1902. You might also wonder why I had come back to visit on a climate march in 2017, 90 years after I died. Well, here's the story. It turns out that I have a vested interest in your climate problem. In 1896, over a century ago, I predicted that increased carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere would lead to increased global temperatures. You see, when I lived, the Industrial Revolution was really picking up steam.
Put the mic in the middle of his face.
And
Yeah, it needs to
try
be
that.
straight
Okay.
on to him.
He's turning his head, that's what
I'm used to doing this when I speak in a lecture hall. But we have assistance. See, when I lived, the Industrial Revolution was really picking up steam, and industries were switching from water power to coal power. And that burning of the coal released a lot of carbon dioxide into the temperature. A few calculations using the knowledge and methods we had at the time allowed me to predict that the increased carbon dioxide would in fact increase global temperatures. This is in 1896. When I was born, I have an assistant here. When I was born in 1820 or 1860, we were releasing about 91 million tons of carbon dioxide into the air. That's this, a minor caution. When I died in 1927, my assistant, my able assistant, need to roll that out, preferably that way. When I died in 1927, we were releasing about 10 times as much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. For that and this. In 1927, or right now, since you folks have not only decided to use coal, but have also discovered that you can use oil and natural gas, the release of carbon has increased to 9,000 million tons of carbon dioxide. That's this. It goes on and on and on. That made a difference? Of course it has. When I was born, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was about 268 parts per million. That's about the same concentration that was in the atmosphere when the Normans invaded England in 1066. When I died, the concentration of carbon dioxide was already up to 300 parts per million in 1927. Now, carbon dioxide concentration is over 400 parts per million. Your scientists have said this is a problem. It is a problem. So, has that made a difference? Oh, did we get to the end of it? No. There's yet more carbon.
Has anyone left their dog in the car?
We have Mercedes with Georgia tags.
I will bust out the window.
Just in case, apparently the police have been called, so just want to give y'all a warning.
Is the dog okay?
The dog's okay, but it is overheated, so we need a person to come meet the officer down at the car.
Sorry.
Okay.
So anyway, the carbon is over 1,000 times the release that we had when I was born in 1860. So, has that made a difference? Of course it has. Your global temperature is already increased over 1 degree Celsius. And it's headed toward what scientists say is the critical 2 degrees Celsius mark. Now, that may not sound like much, just 1 degree Celsius, but if you are an ice cube or you are a glacier, there's a big difference between minus 1 degree temperature and plus half a degree temperature. It's the difference between being an ice cube and being water. That's a big deal. So yes, I predicted what could happen over 100 years ago, and it's happened. Scientists like me like to do experiments to find out whether the things they predict from theory will actually happen. Well, I predicted it, but I never envisioned that you folks would actually do the experiment. I wish you luck with the outcome, but I'm not optimistic. You need to deal with this. Thank you very much.
And next we have Ashley Chambliss, who's going to play some music for us. Give Ashley a round of applause. She came over from Waynesville today.
Right now is a good time to drink lots of water. What do they say? You store it in your belly, right? You don't want to store it in a container. You want to store it in your belly. We've got bathrooms. Drink a lot.
Thanks for coming out today. I'm really honored to be part of this. The environment is my #1 focus. I could cry. I'm so deeply concerned about it. And all the groups that are here today are the ones I follow on Twitter and Facebook and want to be part of anything that is happening. So it means a lot to me to be here. songs with me. I spend enough time in your arms to know just where I wanna be. I heard your voice enough to know just what I need you, and baby I'm right beside you. All I need is a little more of you. All I need is a little more of you. All I need is a little more of you to go on. I laughed with you enough to know just what I need to feel. I dance with you enough to know just why I needed you, and baby I'm right beside you. All I need is a little more of you. All I need is a little more of you. All I need is a little more of you to go on. Take a chance, open the door to me, and just let me in, and open your eyes and see. And baby, I'm right beside you. I'm right beside you. I'm right beside you.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Our next speaker is from the Canary Coalition. Avram Friedman is one of the founders and has been the executive director since the inception of the Canary Coalition in 2000. He has a long history of successful social and environmental activism, dating to the civil rights and anti-war movements of the 1960s and the anti-nuclear movement of the 70s and 80s. He holds a degree in solar energy technology and studied political science at Hunter College in Bronx, New York. Under his leadership, in 2004, the Canary Coalition won a Clean Air Excellence Award from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. In 2008, he was personally awarded the North Carolina Governor's Conservation Achievement Award for air quality activism. He lives in Dillsboro, North Carolina, in a house he built himself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Avram Friedman. I'm the Executive Director of the Canary Coalition. And thank you all for making the effort to be here today. This is a great crowd. It's important to be aware, as was mentioned, that we're joining hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people around the world who are marching today for the sake of preserving a livable planet for our children and grandchildren. It would be easy to despair at the momentum of ignorance about climate change, its causes and its solutions. But we can't afford to hesitate for despair, because the science is clear. We have a small window of opportunity in which to act. We need to summon the resolve of the women's suffrage movement that succeeded despite not having one woman in government to advocate their cause. We need to summon the resolve of the abolitionist movement that succeeded despite the fact that the nation's economy had become dependent on the institution of slavery. We need to summon the resolve of the labor movement that succeeded despite the guns and nightsticks of the corporate state that tried to beat them down, jail their leaders, and pass laws trying to prevent union organizing. We know what we have to do to address climate change. We have to rapidly phase out the use of fossil fuels and transform to meet all of our energy needs with renewable sources such as solar, wind, geothermal, ocean wave, and tidal energy. We have to rapidly become more efficient and less wasteful in our energy use. We need to decentralize power production on the electrical grid, and we have to overcome the powerful influence of the centralized energy giants who are profiting from wasteful energy use, pumping greenhouse gases into our atmosphere, and warming the planet. I'd like to bring to your attention 3 initiatives the Canary Coalition is involved with in North Carolina and urge you to take actions to support these initiatives. First is the Efficient and Affordable Energy Rates Bill, North Carolina House Bill 427 and Senate Bill 236, that has been introduced in this session of the General Assembly. This bill will restructure electric utility rates to provide a powerful economic imperative and the economic means for all ratepayers to invest in energy efficiency and rooftop solar energy systems in North Carolina homes, businesses, and industries. Please tell your state legislators to vote for and adopt this into law. Second is the North Carolina Climate Solutions Coalition resolution. We are introducing this resolution to local governments throughout the state. It calls for phasing out all fossil fuels and transforming to 100% renewable energy no later than the year 2050. The town of Silva adopted this resolution earlier this month. Boone and Watauga County have adopted it. It has been introduced in Haywood County. We'd like to introduce it to the Franklin City Council and Macon County Commissioners as well. Please let me know if you'd like to help in that effort. Third, we're working with the North Carolina We the People campaign to get a ballot measure in the 2018 general election that will allow North Carolina voters to tell Congress We want to amend the U.S. Constitution to declare that money is not speech and that only natural people, not corporations, have constitutional rights. This will reverse the Citizens United decision and get the money out of politics, enabling us to overcome the disproportionate influence of the fossil fuel industry, Duke Energy, and others in North Carolina, so we can develop government policies that will address climate change to the scale necessary to avoid its worst consequences. Please go to ncwethepeople.org. Write this down, ncwethepeople.org, to get more information on how you can help with this important campaign. Please do not listen to the voices of discouragement and despair, those who will say you are powerless. Remember that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And I'd like to leave you with some words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There were those who despaired that the political climate was not right for introducing meaningful change during the civil rights era of the 1960s, and Dr. King said to them, "We are not thermometers here to measure the temperature. We are thermostats here to change the temperature." Let's get busy, folks. Thank you.
You're talking about power of the people. Right now, I just got a text from the climate movement people. There are 150,000 people surrounding the White House right now. Send this message to the administration. So next we have Brent Martin with the Wilderness Society. Brent is a lifetime conservationist, lives in the historic Cowie community here in Western North Carolina. He's worked for the Georgia Forest Watch, Land Trust for the Little Tennessee, Wilderness Society. He has an MA and ABD from Georgia State University in history, focusing on land use patterns and the environmental history of the Northwest Georgia mountains. So everybody give Brent a round of applause.
Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, my wife just came back to me, told me to make this really short since we were running behind, so I'll have no problem doing that. I'm here just to briefly say, work for the Wilderness Society. I want to say that right now, as no one in this room needs to be told, we face a crisis in this country probably greater than we've seen in our lifetimes. I don't remember things being as dark as they are right now. These are tough times. We got some tough times ahead of us, and it's going to take tough people to get through them. Our public lands right now are probably under greater threat than they've been definitely in my lifetime. Nationally, about 25% of our CO2 emissions come off of energy production on public lands. That's a staggering amount of CO2 emissions that come off of lands we own as a people. And that's due to oil production, gas production, methane coming off of byproducts, and on and on and on and on. And now there are attempts in Congress, and there will continue to be attempts in Congress to weaken the very rules and the laws we have to protect the public lands that we have. So I just want to leave you today, and I'll have more information at the gazebo today on what's going on nationally with the Trump administration, with different laws and the Senate and the House are being proposed now to basically weaken environmental protections. So with that, I'll let Angela take it back over and we'll go on. Thanks.
Thanks. Our next speaker is Reverend Patricia Curtis of St. John's Episcopal Church in Silva. Reverend Curtis went to university in Chapel Hill, where she received her master's degree in public health policy. Then, in 1999, she made these beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina her home and became active in her parish and the diocese. It's there that she discerned her call to ordained ministry. Patty is a 2007 graduate of the General Theological Seminary and returned to the diocese to serve the parish of St. John's at that same time. She lives in Silva with her dog Gussie and her cat, Toby Cat.
Thank you so much. It is so great to see all these people out here on this very warm day, April 29th. That's a little unusual, isn't it? Glad we're here. But I'm here today to talk about why people of faith should be concerned about global warming. In my Christian tradition, we describe ourselves as followers of Jesus. And Jesus tells us to love God and to love our neighbor. So our decision to follow in the way of Jesus has implications for how we live our daily lives. Following in the way of Jesus means that we need to examine the choices we make in our daily lives so that we know what effect they're having on our neighbors. And this is something that we share with every other faith tradition. It is an understanding that we are connected to one another. There is no other. There is us. Now you may know that our country makes up about 5% of the world's population. However, we consume about 25% of the Earth's resources. And this means that we contribute a disproportionate amount to global warming. Our carbon footprint is larger than our share of the world's population. And that has an effect on our neighbors, near and far. So why don't we vow to make America great again by becoming a leader in reducing carbon emissions and reducing our carbon footprint? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to give you one thing that you can do today, beginning today. How many of you had breakfast this morning? How many of you had lunch this afternoon? How many of you are planning to have dinner tonight? Our global food system, all along the line, beginning with fertilizer manufacture and use, to food storage and packaging and transportation, makes up about 33% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So you can begin to make a difference today in your own carbon footprint and our country's carbon footprint by educating yourself about where your food comes from. From big business farms that practice monoculture and the heavy use of fertilizers, petroleum-based fertilizers, to the factory farms that provide all of that chicken and beef and pork that you will find in the grocery stores around here. Our consumption of red meat in this country is responsible for most of the carbon footprint of our food system. So you can begin today reducing our country's carbon footprint by making wise choices about the food you eat. Buy from your local, thank you, yes. Can I get an amen? Buy from your local farmers. Support your local farms.
We do.
Start a garden and shop wisely and responsibly to make sure that the beef, the pork, the chicken that you buy is raised sustainably. Our food choices are responsible, as I said, for much of the greenhouse gas emissions, and they will have a major impact on all life forms, human, plants, and other animals all over our world. As people of faith, we need to be acutely aware of the impact of our daily consumption choices, the impact they have on our neighbors, whom we are called to love. Now you all know that the Hebrew Scriptures give us two beautiful stories of the creation of this world. And in the second creation story, God created humankind from the dust of the ground and breathed the breath of life into us. And then God planted a garden. And that garden is our Mother Earth. God created it and made us stewards of God's good creation that we call Mother Earth. So today, when we gather right here to raise awareness of the perils to this dear Mother Earth that God created, please say with me, When it comes to Mother Earth, I'm with her. I want to hear it. When it comes to Mother Earth, I'm with her. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Next up is Tom Tribble with the Audubon Society. As Audubon chapter president for Alicia Mitchell Audubon Society of Asheville, North Carolina, Tom has been spreading the word about Audubon's Birds and Climate Change Report as part of Audubon, North Carolina's Climate Initiative Plan. Tom works selflessly to spread the word about the impairment of our region's bird species through outreach and public education, conducting Christmas bird counts and advocating for Beaver Lake Bird Sanctuary in Asheville. Please welcome Tom.
Thank you, Lauren. At many of these events, the focus is on how climate change impacts humans. So I'm going to talk about how climate change impacts the creatures that we share this earth with, specifically birds. So in 2014, National Audubon Society released a science study on birds and the climate. The report was 7 years in the making and used data on climate, mainly precipitation and temperature, and really considered only the most conservative projections on climate change, not the most radical ones. And used data on distribution of birds going back about 40 or 50 years. And the report confirmed that climate change is the single greatest threat to North American birds. Our wonderful poet, Emily Dickinson, wrote many years ago that hope is the thing with feathers. But Audubon's report on birds and climate change is not hopeful. Of the 588 species of birds in the study, over half, 314 species, are severely threatened by climate change. Many could lose more than half of their climate suitable ranges by 2050, which is certainly in the range of Lauren's children and Lauren's grandchildren. I may not be there, but it's not so far off. Since Europeans landed in this country, remarkably only 9 species of birds have gone extinct. We could lose many more over the next 50 years. Every bird has a tolerance zone for climate conditions, similar to, how many gardeners are out there? Lots of gardeners, similar to garden tolerance zones. If climate gets too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, birds can't successfully raise their babies, or at least not well enough to maintain the status. It's true, birds can fly. They can fly north, they can fly inland, they can fly up in elevation. And indeed, over the last 50 years, the data shows that of our North American wintering birds, more than 60% have moved their range northward. They understand climate change as a fact. But much like people, birds are imprinted on the place where they're born. Our migrants that spend the winter in Central and South America are going to return to the place where they were born. And even our resident birds are going to return to the place where they were raised to raise their babies. So by the time they figure out that they need to move, it may be too late. Will the climate conditions be there? Probably not. And simply flying north or inland is not always a solution. Human development limits the opportunities, and for many birds, the right habitat's not going to be there. Chicago's not going anywhere. Detroit maybe, but not Chicago. And here in western North Carolina, many of our local warblers and other beloved mountain birds are not going to be able to move any higher in elevation. The golden crowned kinglets on Mount Pisgah, they've got nowhere to go up. So, I'm going to mention a few birds, ones I hope that you know. Indeed, the wood thrush. Many of you have never seen a wood thrush. I hope you've heard this beautiful plaintive song that you just heard. About 3 years ago, some researchers captured a wood thrush in a net just north of Winston-Salem and attached a tracking device to it. Remarkably, 1 year later, they recaptured the same bird in the net 200 yards from where they captured it the year before. They had flown 2,000 miles to spend the winter in Belize, and then 2,000 miles back. It survived 4,000 miles of a perilous journey It did not fly American. But it is a perilous journey, and the wood thrush populations have decreased more than 60% over the last 40 years. That's an alarm bell. And climate change is bringing a new challenge to them. Right now, they currently breed all across North Carolina, but according to the Audubon's climate report, they are projected to lose 82% of their climate-suitable summer habitat by 2080. In North Carolina, the only suitable breeding habitat will be right here. And if the forest habitat they require and the food that they need are not there, they will blink out. Anybody? Very good back there, somebody. That is a yellow-throated warbler. I heard one yesterday singing. It's a beautiful song, and it's usually the first warbler that returns to western North Carolina, usually to my neighborhood by mid-March. I started anticipating the return in February and looking forward to it, and I get anxious when I don't hear it as this year until toward the end of March. But it's a bird that prefers very specific trees for its breeding in its climate-suitable range. So the tree's going to be there. If not, the yellow-throated warbler is not going to be there. Somebody?
My favorite, come on.
It's a white-breasted nuthatch. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this smartly dressed bird, which is a year-round resident, and it's yank call. It too is projected to lose much of its climate-suitable summer range, 78%, and it may join the wood thrush in having to move to western North Carolina from the rest of the state where it breeds.
Almost got it.
She's having to bring up each call. I've only got two more.
This is Nico Case's favorite bird.
This is a tough one, partly because it's great, good.
White-throated sparrow.
White-throated sparrow. Another beautiful plaintive song. Are birds telling us something with these plaintive songs? I don't know. But the white-throated sparrow breeds in boreal forest in the northern part of this continent, Canada and Alaska. And winters with here all through the south. Winters with us here all through the south. The good news is that their winter range will likely not be affected. However, as the climate suitable for breeding shifts northward, will the boreal forest move in lockstep? Well, the boreal forest does not fly. Geologic time, it will eventually move up there, but will that be in time for that white-throated sparrow to survive? We will simply see and hear fewer of them here in western North Carolina and in the south until maybe there are none. And the final bird,
Carolina.
that's a Carolina chickadee. And this common bird nests in your yard, I suspect. The good news is it's not threatened by climate change, so why do I mention it? Because I know you're asking what can you do to help birds. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Carolina chickadee. The mother lays 5 eggs, and during the time between those eggs hatch and those 5 birds fly away is about 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, those 7 birds, 5 babies, 2 adults, eat. If I want to take a guess on the number of caterpillars? 9,000 caterpillars. So where do they find those caterpillars? They find them in native trees. The oak tree family in this country hosts 535 species of caterpillars. We know this because of graduate students. Wonderful people. That's also why we know that they're eating 9,000 caterpillars. But a beautiful non-native ginkgo tree hosts 5 species of caterpillars. So when you're a bird in search of food for your babies, that's a life-threatening difference. So I repeat, what can you do to help birds? You can take action in your own backyard. Probably the single easiest thing that any individual can do to help birds is to make your yard more bird-friendly by planting bird-friendly native plants. As we face development, there are fewer and fewer national forests and state parks and wild areas for birds to go to. So Audubon is focused on helping birds where people live. And so you can help them by planting native plants in your yard. And at the end, at the gazebo, there will be a lot of brochures about that. And I hope you'll pick one up. I know the other speakers have mentioned steps you can take. I will simply add that you can spread the word. Speak to your neighbors and family. Use your Facebook page. Really, everybody loves birds. You can talk about them. And tell them the birds are already threatened by climate change. And let them know that what's good for birds is good for humans. And whenever I talk to groups like this, I like to conclude by saying that birds sing beautifully, but they cannot speak. It's up to us to speak for them.
We know it's about 3 o'clock. We're running a little over, but thanks for hanging with us. Drink water. It's very hot. We have one more speaker and then a little bit of music, and then we will be ready to go on our march. Our final speaker is Lloyd Arneach, a Cherokee storyteller. He was born and raised on the Qualla boundary, moved to Atlanta in 1967, and began sharing Cherokee history and culture through storytelling. He has a published book of stories, Long Ago Stories of the Eastern Cherokee, now in its 4th printing, as well as a CD, Can You Hear the Smoke, which is a collection of stories and Native American legends. Please welcome Lloyd.
Bonjour, comment ça va? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Right. Well, long ago, the Cherokee did a lot of things. One of those things they did was that what we did this day, we did for the 7th generation yet to come. Today, we no longer do this. Now we're civilized. But this is one of our old stories, and it explains why certain formations have appeared. Now, long ago, the Cherokee realized young people were starting to disappear. And they knew about the bears, they knew about the wolves, they knew about where it's safe to play and where it wasn't. But the children kept disappearing. And the adults started watching. And finally, one of the adults saw a giant hawk come down out of the sky. It picked up a young child and flew off with him before the adult could react. Now they knew what had happened to the children. The hawk was taking the young children, and they realized there was no way they could stop the hawk. And the children were playing, they had to go outside. So they said, how can we stop this? And they went to the townhouse, and there they met, and they talked with people. Ideas came and went, and they couldn't decide. And they decided, well, we can't come up with a solution. We need help. So they prayed to the Creator. All the people were gathered in the townhouse, and they prayed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days they prayed. And on the 7th day, they heard a voice that filled the air. And the voice told them, this night, stay in the townhouse. Don't come out. And that night, all the people were gathered in the townhouse. And a tremendous storm came over the mountain. Thunder was moving the walls of the townhouse. They could see lightning flashing through the door. As they looked out the door, they saw mountain peaks were burning with fire, with the lightning instead of fire. And finally the storm quit. And the next morning, as they came out, they saw smoke rising from different peaks all throughout Cherokee territory. And they sent warriors out to find out what had happened. And when they got to the mountain peaks, they found bones of a huge bird. And they found bones of smaller animals that they'd been bringing to their nest to feed. As they saw all the mountains, they saw there was always the bones of giant hawks and bones of the animals they had eaten. and they saw the bones of the young people. And since that day, the giant hawk has no longer appeared. And today, the people understand that these places will never change. And when you come to the Great Smokies today, you still see these places. Bushes don't grow, trees don't grow, only grass grows in these areas. And they're referred to as mountain balls here in the Great Smokies. Now, scientists tell us they don't know why trees don't grow there. But today, we know why. Now, I can't solve the climate problem. You can't solve the climate problem. But if we tell other people, if we ask for help, like the Cherokee did, I tell another person, you tell another person, and they tell another, then it will grow. And that's what we need to do to affect climate change. This is a wonderful group. Thank you for inviting me.
So in just a minute, we're going to close out with some music and drumming to lead us into our march. A quick reminder, if you haven't signed in, please do so. Sign our Why I March banner. But I want to leave you with a few things of what do we do next, because this is March is very important in building our momentum, but we have to take it from here. This can't be the only thing we do. So some ideas on what we can do going forward. Get involved. Find a local progressive organization. Get involved with each other. Call your representatives. Let them know how you feel about these issues. Let them know how you want them to vote. Pay attention to where your money is going. Sorry, the other way would be vote. The 2018 elections are coming. Vote. We have voter registration here, and I believe we'll be taking some of this up to the gazebo. Please, if you live in Macon County and you are not registered to vote, please register to vote. Speak out. Now is not the time to be silent. Continue to have these conversations with your family, your friends, people that you meet on the street. Keep talking about it. And make a personal commitment. I know we've already talked about some of this. Reduce your personal carbon footprint. Make the effort to make changes in your life.
So we're going to have some music in just a moment, but I want to give you some specific instructions for marching. We are going to stay on the sidewalks today. We do have a Franklin Police Department is going to be at one of our crossings and maybe, kind of around, keeping an eye on things and making sure people stay safe. Please obey the traffic signals. We do have some volunteers who are wearing crossing guard signs where Beth is one of them. Show them the sign. So keep an eye out for them. They will boss you around a little bit. And look out for each other. If somebody looks like they're about to pass out, help them out, please. And if you do not want to do the full mile and a half, I know it's hot. It could start raining, although I hope it doesn't. Feel free to stop at the gazebo and hang out and look at some of the material that is there. Stay hydrated, and the most important part is have fun. And thank you so much for being here. We will. I'll have a megaphone, so we'll try to lead the march. We'll try our best to get in a line. It should be interesting, but let's all work together. We know how to do this. So our own Angela Martin is going to sing a song, and then kids, especially if you want to come up and grab a drum, she's going to give you some instructions. Thank you.
Lauren Hickman and Susanna Cuppers, everybody give it up. None of this would have happened without these women. Okay, it's just a really quick little lullaby to get your all your vitals coordinated so that we don't go to Angel Medical Center today. A little song about the woods. You can hear my guitar.
the natural process stuff.
Yeah, I'll get right here.
Probably 80 a little bit, but not as much as you can save here. I mean, the ice age is in there. And then it warms up after that. I think one of the main things that climate change here protests is nuclear power, right? The nuclear power is one of the most cleanest What people say is like, oh, we don't want another Chernobyl, but the plant Chernobyl is basically over together and different upgrades.
That's why I met you here.
I almost brought an umbrella. Yeah, just over. Young generation.
Thank you.